Hello, everyone. So, we're live tonight. Straighten this out. I'm live in a couple different places tonight. If you are joining, please feel free to say hi. Let me know where you're watching from, how your night or day has been going. So, we're doing some full moon stuff. We're going to talk about the full moon. Tonight's a big moon. We have a super moon happening in Scorpio. So we're going to jump into this. So we have a big full moon happening tonight, or I think if you're in the southern hemisphere of the world, this occurred last night, or it's happening tomorrow. I'm not sure which because I'm horrible with time frames. So we have a super moon occurring, and a super moon just means that the Earth is the moon is a little bit closer to the Earth in its orbit. So it appears a lot bigger in the sky, which means it has a much bigger impact on us here on Earth. Like, we feel the effects of the full moon a little bit heavier than we normally would. So I've got a slideshow that we're going to go through. I'm going to get fancy. We're going to share some screens here, and we're going to talk about this full moon. So first thing I want to talk about is what the full moon is, for those of you who don't necessarily follow stuff. So we're going to talk about what the full moon is. So when the full moon occurs, it occurs when the moon and the sun are in opposition of each other. And opposition basically just means that the moon and the sun are opposite in the sky from each other. So this is the point in a lunar cycle or a moon cycle where the moon is completely visible in the sky to people. So if you look up at the sky, you can see the whole face of the moon is lit up. The full moon is the point in the lunar cycle where the moon is completely lit up. So when we look up in the sky, we can see the whole moon. And this occurs as the sun and the moon are opposite each other in the sky. I'm going to give you guys a visual of this in a minute so you know what the hell I'm talking about, because a lot of you are probably going to be like, ugh. So the full moon in Scorpio, which is what we are dealing with right now, occurs around the end of April and the beginning of the May. Typically when the sun is in Taurus, because the full moon happens opposite, right? So the opposite sign of Scorpio is Taurus. So when we have the sun in Taurus, we have a full moon in Scorpio. So this moon also has a few different names. It has pink, so it's also known as the pink moon, the sprouting grass moon, and the fish moon. So here's a question for you. Oh, what are some stuff that comes to mind when you guys think about full moons? So I'm going to give you guys a visual of what occurs in the sky during the full moon. So from an astrological point of view, meaning from where we are on Earth, if we're looking up at the sky. So in astrology, we have the sky mapped out as a circle, right? An astrological chart or an astrology chart, when you look at it, is a circle. So that maps out the sky, right, from where we see it on Earth. We have the horizon that goes through the middle. So any planets that are above the horizon are in the sky that we can see, right? Any planets below the horizon, we can't see. So what happens on a full moon is you have the sun in one part of the sky, okay? Either above or below the horizon, and this one is below the horizon. Probably because it's a full moon and the sun is set. So we have the sun below the horizon, right, in Taurus. In the sign of Taurus, because that's where the sun is right now. We have the moon above the horizon in the sky in the sign of Scorpio. So the sun and the moon are literally across from each other in the sky. Okay? So that's what we're seeing astrologically. If you look at an astrological chart and you have your sun in one sign and then your moon is in the sign opposite it, that means you were born on a full moon. Okay? So now we're going to talk about from an astronomy point of view, because I don't know, I just found this interesting and I wanted to share it with you. So from an astronomy point of view, so if we were out in space, this is what it would look like. We have the sun at the center of the galaxy, or the center of our solar system. I always want to say galaxy, but it's our solar system. So we have our sun at the center of the solar system. The Earth orbits around the sun. Obviously, the Earth does not orbit in a perfect circle, but for this demonstration, I'm using a perfect circle because, yeah, it's just easier. And then around the Earth, we have the moon that orbits around the Earth, right? So on a full moon, we have the sun and the Earth. The moon is on the far side. So we have the moon, the Earth, and the sun, right? And then the sun's light is reflecting off the moon, this side of the moon, so that the whole side of the one side of the moon is lit up, and then that's reflecting back to Earth so we can see it. Does that make sense to you guys? So it's pretty interesting. The new moon is a little bit different. So that's what occurs from space during a full moon. Okay, so what does the full moon represent? The full moon represents a few different things. It can represent balance. Okay, so in astrology, we have what we call an opposition, which I'll pull up a chart and show you guys what an opposition looks like in a few minutes. But we have what's called an opposition, and an opposition is kind of like a teeter-totter between planets, where the two planets on either side have to balance each other out. So a full moon is an opposition between the sun and the moon. So there's a balance or a theme of balance that occurs on the full moon. The full moon is also representative of illumination, okay, because it is literally lit up. Things that are in the dark, right? When the moon goes dark, the moon represents our inner feelings or our inner being, right? And this gets lit up. So things come into illumination or are illuminated and lit up when the moon is full. It also represents a collimation of energy. So the moon is full, meaning it's at its maximum capacity of energy, right? So when we have a full moon, the moon's energy is at its peak. It's at its collimation. So it can represent a collimation of things. So when we have the moon in the sign of Scorpio, the sign of Scorpio represents a lot of things too. So Scorpio can represent transformation. It can represent death. It can represent intimacy. It can represent sex. It can represent secrets. And it also represents the occult and magic. Okay. So hint, hint, if you guys want to know about how you do magic, you're going to want to look at 8th house placements, Scorpio placements. So with the full moon in Scorpio, what we're doing is so if you want to know what to do on the full moon of Scorpio, or what full moons are about when they're in a certain sign, you want to take the themes of the full moon, which are balance, collimation, and illumination. Those are just some of them. There's lots more, but we'd be here all night talking about all of them. So we have balance, collimations, and illuminations, right? So you take the themes of the full moon, and when the moon's in a certain sign, those energies of the full moon are focused on things to do with that specific sign. So in this case, the full moon is in Scorpio. So the energy of the full moon, so this balancing energy, this collimation energy, and this illumination energy is really focused in on things to do with transformation, death, intimacy, sex, secrets, and the occult magic, okay? So some good things to do on this full moon or to work with on this full moon, you can collimate a transformation, which means like kind of, if you've been working on transforming something, it's a good time to kind of pull in those energies into like a peak, right? You can work at peaking a transformation, I guess, is one way of putting that. You can work on balancing your intimacy. So if you're finding, how am I going to word this? So when I say balancing your intimacy, it's more if you're dealing with an excess of things, okay? So the way that the full moon works, it's not the new moon. So the new moon kind of pulls things in. So if you're looking to pull intimacy in, the new moon is a good time to do that. The new moon in Scorpio. The full moon in Scorpio is a good time to kind of release and let go of some of our excess intimate. So if you have like a really high sex drive and you find that you're dealing with overly high sexual energy, this moon is a good time to work on balancing out that energy, right? On maybe releasing some of it to balance it out and find a balance in your intimate energy. It is a really good time to banish things as well. Okay, so I've had a few people, particularly in the southern hemisphere right now, you guys, this is for everybody, but this is going to hit home for more people in the southern hemisphere because you guys are coming up to Samhain in a few days. And so when you guys have Samhain, or aka Halloween, the veil between the spirit world and the physical world is very, very thin. It is on Beltane too, so it is on this side too, but it's thinner in a different way, right? So spiritual beings can kind of come in through the veil a lot easier, and a lot of people find it really hard to kind of banish things, or they find that they have a lot of negative entities. So if you're finding you have a lot of negative entities around you that you're having a hard time banishing and getting rid of, this full moon is perfect for that, because there is, not only is it a super moon and there's that added extra oomph behind the moon, but it's a full moon on top of that, which it's like a super moon is a full moon on steroids. So you have like double the oomph to banish shit back to where it came from, right? It's also a good time to reveal secrets. So you think somebody's hiding a secret from you, it's a good time to do working to reveal secrets. But beware, this works both ways. So if you're hiding secrets from people, this full moon could pull your secrets out as well. It's also a good time to balance your magic. So if you're having issues with magic, and you're finding that your magic is all wonky, it's a good time to kind of balance out your magical energies. It's a good time to columnate your magic. So if you want to make your magic stronger, it's a good time to work on that. It's a good time to illuminate things you need to release or transform. And we're going to say this. It's also a good time to perform a curse if you're going to. But I'm going to put a caution on this, that because we are in a sign of death, curses, unless you really know what you are doing, this is not the time to be doing them. So keep in mind that Scorpio is a sign of death, and this full moon is a super moon, so it's on steroids, right? There's a lot of added energy into things right now. So if you're performing curses, if you're into curses, this is a good time to do it, but just beware that, there's a lot of energy around it that could cause things to go awry if you're not experienced in performing them. Okay? I'm a gray witch, so I'll talk about everything and anything, guys. So yeah, let's see what else. Okay, so we're gonna get into some of the astrology for this particular full moon. So I have an astrological chart pulled up here. So this is what an astrology chart looks like. Now, this is not a birth chart. I've had a few people ask me if this is a birth chart. This is not a birth chart. Unless somebody was born on the exact full moon, then this would be their birth chart. But this is this is just a chart created for when the full moon occurs, okay? So some people call it an event chart, which your birth chart is an event chart as well. It was charted at the time you were born, which is an event. You can also create charts for different events like weddings and stuff like that. That's how people use astrology for predictive things, to kind of get ideal timings to do magic and to figure out, what's going to be the best time to get married, what's going to be the best time to do spell work. They look at the event charts. So they type in a day and a place and a time, and they look at the chart and they analyze it and all the aspects and stuff. But anyways, this, without veering too off track, this is the the full moon chart for this. This is the chart for this full moon. Now it's going to look a little different for everybody. Charts can be laid out very differently. I use the whole house system, which means there's only one sign per house. So houses are these parts of the pies you see here, the sections of the circle. So I use it so that there's one sign per house. This is less complicated for people who are new to astrology, okay? So if you're learning astrology, this might be the easiest format for you. Because some other formats can sometimes get two signs in a house, and then you get houses that are intercepted or houses that go over signs that are intercepted, and you get intercepted houses and stuff like that, which makes it very, very complicated to try and read. So if you want a basic chart, I find this is probably one of the best charts to start off with. So, and the houses will be different depending on the time the full moon occurs for you. So the signs that rule the houses, like here we have Sagittarius in the first house, but this changes every 2 hours. So depending on when the full moon occurs for you, the time, it's going to be a different sign in these houses as well. Okay, so we're not going to touch the houses at all. We're just going to talk about the aspects to the moon. So the first aspect we have, okay, first of all, with the new moon, there's something else I want to let you guys know. So with the full moon, you are clearing out energies for the full moon or the new moon that comes up, not this new moon, because this new moon will be in Taurus. So when you do workings with this full moon in Scorpio, you're working on releasing energies for Scorpio that are in your way, so that when the new moon in Scorpio rolls around in October, you have your path cleared, your road is cleared, that you can pull in and manifest the things you want within the sign of Scorpio. Okay, so let's say, for instance, you wanted to manifest new intimate partners, or you wanted to bring in more intimate relationships into your life, right? Now, with this full moon, you're going to be working on clearing out any things that are in your way that may be preventing that. So in 6 months' time, when the new moon rolls around in Scorpio, you can pull in those energies to manifest those new intimate relationships. Make sense? I think a lot of people get confused as to how that exactly works. So we have the new moon in Scorpio, okay? You can see the moon, the glyph for the moon in Scorpio here. And we have all this energy, all of this down here. You can see the sun is down here in Taurus, okay? So that's what I mean by opposite, right? The moon and the sun are literally in opposite signs. So Scorpio, Taurus, right? So if you have this in your chart and they're connected by a long red line, that long red line is an opposition. So if you have that in your chart, you were born on a full moon. Okay. So the first thing I want to point out is this group of planets down here in Taurus. That's going to be affecting a lot. Actually, we're going to go over here to the chart here. So the first thing I did want to point out is we have a lot of earth energy. This full moon is predominantly earth energy by the looks of it. So while we have a lot of emotional energy going on with the Scorpio moon, right, which brings in a lot of deep emotions, there is everything that's manifested with this full moon is going to be slow, because we still have a lot of influence of earth, right? And earth is a very slow moving element. So any magic you guys do with this full moon, don't expect it to manifest very quickly, because it probably won't. There's a whole lot of earth energy coming into play, as we can see from this chart here, right? So a whole lot of earth energy coming into play that's going to slow this energy down for manifesting a little bit, okay? It's also because Earth is a long-term thing. It's a good time to do workings for long-term things, things that you want to last. And I'm also saying that because there's a lot of fixed energy with this moon as well, which is also about continuing things and keeping things continuing and going. So this moon has a lot of like that continual, long-lasting energy, but it's going to probably manifest very slowly because of all that Earth energy that's in play. Makes sense? Okay, so we'll talk about this in a minute. So I want to talk about some of the aspects that are going on with the full moon. So these are going to show things that are helping or hindering or, aiding things, whatever the case may be. So aspects kind of show how what planets are working well together and what planets are kind of pulling at each other or arguing and fighting. Okay, so the blue lines are harmonious aspects, meaning they work well together. The red lines are conflictive aspects sometimes, meaning they're inharmonious. They're kind of pulling against each other, right? So we have the moon here, and we have it trine with Mars over here in Cancer. So Mars and the moon are working very well together right now. Okay, so Mars is your planet of action, and the moon is your emotions. So when Mars is in Cancer, oh my God, I had this all, I should have wrote this out while it was fresh in my brain earlier. And I didn't. So Mars is a planet of action, so it's really motivating us right now. Mars is giving us the energy to move forward with our emotions, to kind of take action based on our emotions in a positive way, right? Mars is saying, like, look, I'll give the moon the energy it needs to do what it needs to do, right? So a lot of you may be feeling emotional, but emotionally kind of pulled to do something, right? And when the moon's in Scorpio, this is all about releasing things, right? Scorpio is a sign of death. So it's about releasing and letting things go and transforming things. So death doesn't necessarily mean letting things go. When we die, we transform, right? We go back to energy. Our physical body ceases to be, but our energetic selves still go on, right? So we have Mars and the moon are playing well together right now. They're working together. So you have this harmonious energy of, at least on the full moon, of like Mars is kind of giving the moon the motivation it needs to kind of let go of the things it needs to let go of, right? And to release and to heal and to do all the stuff that we need to do emotionally, to do these deep internal emotional transformations that we need to do. So you're going to find that you may have an extra boost of energy when it comes to working with your emotions and letting go of things you need to let go of. There's a high kind of drive there to do that. Now, we also have and Mars in Cancer is about moving forward from the past as well. So, it's kind of helping to let us release what's lying in the past so that we can kind of move forward with things. We also have a trine here. So another blue line here from Jupiter to the moon as well. So with Jupiter is the Santa Claus, I guess you could say, of the zodiac, of the planets, and he kind of just gives and gives and gives and gives and gives and gives. So he's saying, like, look, I can, and he's sitting in Aquarius at the moment, so he's got a lot of innovative ideas, a lot of this desire to break free. With the Jupiter trining the moon, you may find that there's a lot of expansive energy when it comes to the moon, like your emotions, and you're looking at possibilities, right? You may have really powerful dreams as well during this time, because Jupiter also rules Pisces, which is dreams. But you have very like powerful thoughts and innovative ideas and things that are coming to you and they're trining with your emotional needs, which means this is Jupiter supporting the moon. So the moon right now wants to release and let go of things, and Jupiter's saying, I can help you with that. I can give you the insight you need onto what you need to release so that you can release what you need, right? And Jupiter is kind of helping with that. So there's Jupiter kind of increases the energy too. It expands energy of whatever it touches, whether that be a sign or a planet, right? So the fact that it's aspecting the moon in a trine here, we have the, it's kind of amplifying our energies. And what that does is it amplifies our emotional energies, which is good because, again, that makes us see what we need to let go of, right? It's easier to notice something when it's right in front of our face and put under a magnifying glass than it is sometimes we can aloof it and ignore it, right? So Jupiter is like, I'm going to expand this so that you can notice it to let it go. Are you guys following me? So with this full moon, we have Jupiter expanding things so that we can easily let things go. Mars is helping to lend us the motivation and the drive to kind of let things go. But we do have one planet in here that we have Saturn in here, which is a little restrictive. And he's squaring. So there's definitely a bit of tension here. Okay. And this I feel like is because there's blocks. Okay, so what Saturn does is it restricts. And because Saturn is before Jupiter, we're going to hit the Saturn energy before we hit the Jupiter energy. So we're probably going to feel the Saturn energy and this energy of restricting our emotions or feeling restricted emotionally before we get to Jupiter saying, here's the bigger picture, So Saturn is misunderstood though. Saturn restricts things and it puts limits and boundaries on things because Saturn wants us to work for what we have, right? Saturn is like, I'll give you. He is the god of agriculture, okay? So he does give us rewards, much like a farmer. If they plant their seeds, they tend to their crops, they do the work, they'll reap a good harvest, right? That's Saturn energy, whereas he wants us, that planet wants us to put in the work. That planet does not give anything freely, okay? So you have kind of this Jupiter energy that's like, I'll give it to you, I'll give you all this stuff you need, and Saturn's like, no, you have to work for it, which is a little bit frustrating. And Saturn in Aquarius is all about, breaking free from limitations to kind of look towards the future. Okay. Saturn's a traditional ruler of Aquarius, so he's pretty happy here. Like, he's not an overly grumpy, no, you can't have it kind of Saturn. He's pretty happy in this placement, but he's like, you need to start. Saturn is like looking towards the future in Aquarius, and the moon in Scorpio is kind of looking at the past, right? What do I need to let go of and release in order? And Saturn's like, well, you need to let go of and release a lot of things, but you're going to have to work really hard to do that. And that can cause a little bit of frustration and tension. So there might be a little bit of tension with this full moon as far as, feeling like you need to release things, but maybe not being able to quite feel like you can break free from it. Okay. But then Jupiter comes in and helps that, and so does Mars. So you got a lot of support in overcoming those challenges, right? We also have something else here, which is the moon. We have what we call a stellium of planets. So a stellium in astrology is when you have 4 or more planets in this, or 3 or more planets, I believe. I think it's 3. I'm pretty sure it's 3. 3 or more planets in one sign or one house. So you can have a stellium in a house, or you can have a stellium in a sign. Here we have 4 planets, all in Taurus. So what occurs in a stellium is you have a concentration of energy. It's a buildup of energy, right? So there's a lot of Taurus energy right now. We have the sun in Taurus, we have Uranus in Taurus, we have Venus in Taurus, and we have Mercury in Taurus. So when I said, we have oppositions, we have an opposition of the moon between the sun and Uranus, Venus, and Taurus. So the poor little moon, I feel sorry for the moon right now, I do, in a lot of ways. The poor little moon's all the way over here all by himself or herself, and then you have the 4 other planets on the other end. So the way like I visualize this is you've got a game of tug of war going on, and you've got one person on one end of the rope and 4 people on the other end of the rope, right? And the 4 people are tugging this way and the one person's tugging this way. Well, the one person's going to have needs to have a lot of resolve in that case to be able to overpower the energy that's kind of sitting on in Taurus, right? So there's a lot of energy right now in Taurus. And Taurus is very grounded, practical, down to earth. This is the I have, okay? So this is the energy that's focused on what you need to have right now, what you have or what you want to have, what you need to have, all these things, right? So we have a lot of energy focused on material things, on drawing material things in, and then we have this moon energy on releasing things. So sometimes that can be a tug of war between the two, because all these planets are like, I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this, and they're wanting to pull all this shit in. And the moon in Scorpio is like, no, you need to release this, you need to let go of this, so you can see where the kind of tug of war happens, right? And you kind of get that pull. Has anybody been feeling that pull kind of between what they need to kind of pull in as far as material wise and what they need to release? It's a big tug of war right now, okay? And unfortunately, the moon isn't in the best placement in Scorpio. So the poor moon is probably not going to win out on that one. So that can be a little frustrating, okay? And a lot of people will probably feel that tension. But again, you have Mars coming in and helping you as far as, providing the moon with that drive and ambition, and Jupiter's coming in and helping the moon too. So we've got some good aspects going on. So yeah, when we have the sun opposite Mercury, Uranus, and Venus, or sorry, the moon opposite the sun, Uranus, Mercury, and Venus, we have all that Taurus energy. And like I said, there's that tug of war. So with this full moon, you guys really might be feeling the tug of war between, again, the things you need to pull in, as in money, food, clothing, things you just want for pleasure and enjoyment as well, right? And things that are pleasing to the senses and what you kind of need to release. So I think that pretty much covers it. So yeah, with this full moon, just beware that anything you're doing is probably going to manifest slowly. Because like I said, we have Pluto here in Capricorn, we have the sun, Uranus, Venus, and Mercury in Taurus. And then the only other planets we have Mars, the moon, Saturn, Jupiter, Neptune. So we have 4 planets that aren't in Earth signs, 5 planets that are. So over half the planets are in Earth signs right now. So expect a lot of slow-moving energy to be impacted with this full moon. So any magic you do, and don't expect it to manifest like that, because there's not a lot of fire energy, so this energy is not going to manifest quickly. It's going to be very, very slow, but it is good for like long-term workings as well. Anything you do will last long-term because it is in an earth sign and it is in fixed energy. But there's a lot of like things coming into play. There's a lot of energy being lent to kind of help you release things. But there's also some energy maybe restricting things that you might want to release, in this kind of pull between what you need, what you want to pull in, and what you want to let go of, right? Or you need to let go of. So the sun is more our wants, right? What do I want materialistically? And your moon is like what you need emotionally, right? And so sometimes that can give a little tug of pull, and a lot of people feel that. If you're Taurus sun, you're probably going to feel this tug of pull right now. You're going to feel this pull, okay? When the moon is in Scorpio, Tauruses tend to feel it a lot more, just like when we have the new moon in Taurus, Scorpios are going to feel it, okay? Because we tend to be on the opposite spectrum, so we tend to feel that pull. And also other signs that might feel some of these effects could be Leos, Aquariuses as well, because you guys do have the Jupiter and Saturn. You guys have planets in Aquarius right now. Leos might not feel it as much because there are no planets in Leo right now. So we don't have any like really experiences going on for the collective right now in Leo as far as that energy, but we do have experiences going on for Aquarius energy. So Aquarians might feel some tension because a lot of these are going to be squaring. So they're going to definitely feel that square there between the moon and Saturn. So heads up for that as well. Other than that, I think you guys are good. So on that note, guys, I'm going to jump off. I hope you guys have an awesome full moon. I'll talk to y'all later. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and have an awesome night, guys.